When the opponent gives you speed and power, you use their pace, and use your racket tip, wrist, and forearm together to brush over the ball. This is the surest way to get it on the table. Today, we're talking about serve and attack. I'll teach you how to follow up your topspin serve to win the point on the next shot. First, you need a very good side topspin serve. This could be a pendulum serve, a hook serve, or a backhand serve. If you can't do those, just use a fast, long serve. Don't underestimate the long serve. Its main purpose is to set up your next shot to win. If you can't win the point after a backspin serve, a fast, long serve can solve your problem of not having an effective topspin serve. Why do we so often hit the next ball out after a side topspin serve? If you don't use power and just block it back, your opponent will hit a power loop right past you. Using power is the right idea, but the question is, how do you keep the ball on the table while doing it? This isn't maximum power. We're talking about 60 to 70% of your full power. When I was young, I always wondered why I could rally for 100 to 200 shots in practice. But in a match, I was too afraid to hit hard and would just push, which led to errors. It's because many amateur players have a swing that's too big. For example, if my swing to go down the line is much bigger than my normal drive, I'll miss. This is especially true for the forehand. Overswinging causes errors. The more I extend my forearm, the longer the arc of the ball will be. With less extension, the arc will be shorter. So, your upper and lower arm are the best tools to adjust the length and height of the arc. You must use them together. Using only the forearm or only the upper arm is incorrect. Especially when serving long to the backhand, avoid serving too close to the center line. If you do, they'll attack you the moment you try to change the line of play. You should serve wider to the sideline, and then attack down the line. With such a wide open court and some speed, even a pro would struggle to reach it because the angle is too extreme. So, first, you must create a wide angle with your serve. The second question is, do you use their power or generate your own? Okay, let's have Shui Shui return one. I'll demonstrate generating your own power. This is active power generation, like a pro. This is using their power. With active power, the ball is waiting for you to hit it. When using their power, your forces are meeting. You're taking their pace and adding your own. Personally, after a topspin serve, I prefer to use the opponent's pace. That's why my stance after a side topspin serve is different from a side backspin one. After a backspin serve, you must recover backwards to create space for your loop. After a topspin serve, you must focus on moving forward to meet the ball and use their pace. But many of you do the opposite. You stand too close after a backspin serve and get jammed. And you back up after a topspin serve, causing you to be out of position. After a backspin serve, take a small step back to create an arm's length of space. After a topspin serve, you must step in to use their pace, because the further back you are, the harder it is to control the arc of a topspin ball. Even male pros are playing closer to the table now. It's not about gender, it's because the modern game prioritizes using your opponent's pace for consistency. The second point is your recovery. After a side topspin serve, the ball often returns to your backhand. Many players finish their serve with their body turned sideways, making it impossible to hit the backhand down the line. You can only go cross-court. This makes your side topspin serve less effective, and you might even lose the backhand exchange. So, after your side topspin serve, you must rotate your body to be square to the table. This makes it much easier to change direction. Next, when attacking a topspin ball, do you use a spinny flick or a flat punch? Many players choose to use the punch. Let me explain the essence of the punch drive. In a match, it comes down to 3 words: short, fast, stop. Short means a short backswing and a compact follow-through. Fast means your swing speed needs to be quick. Stop means I can use power, but the ball doesn't have to land deep. See? I hit that hard, but it didn't go to the end line. Watch again. I used power, but it landed short. This ensures it lands by shortening the arc. So stop is about controlling the placement and depth of the shot. If I want the ball to land deep, I extend my follow-through more. To make it land short, I stop my swing earlier. I'm still using power, but I'm building in a margin for safety. Not every shot has to go to the end line. For example, at 9-9 when I change direction, I must stop my swing early and not take risks. If your opponent hits with a lot of pace and you don't stop early, the combined force will make the ball go out or cause a stiff-armed error. So, you must adjust that stop based on the situation. The second option is the backhand rip. This is much simpler. You can generate your own power or use their pace because you're using friction, so either way works. This is why learning to use friction on your backhand is crucial. The key to consistency is this: when the opponent gives you speed and power, you use their pace, and use your racket tip, wrist, and forearm together to brush over the ball. This is the surest way to get it on the table. Some of you say you still make errors with this shot. That's because your racket angle is too open. After your serve, when the ball comes back, you should normally have a closed racket angle for this shot. The more you close your racket face and contact the top middle part of the ball, the easier it is to execute this shot. Next question: to get quality on this shot, do you use the wrist, forearm, or upper arm? Using too much wrist will make you inconsistent. You'll just rip it out randomly. That's called having a loose wrist. When the opponent's return is very spinny, I don't dare to add more spin in a counter rip. It's too difficult and error-prone. It's better to just block it. If you try, you won't grip the ball, it will slip, or you'll brush it into the net because of their heavy spin. So, when the opponent returns my serve with a spinny rip, I use a rip block. My racket angle is the same as for a rip, but I use my forearm to press on the ball to control the spin. If they just block it back, then I can use my fingers and wrist to actively add more spin. You have to adjust to the incoming ball. This is also a type of rip, but I'm not using my fingers and wrist much. I'm mainly keeping my forearm firm and brushing the top middle of the ball. This also creates spin. Because if their return is too spinny, or if they loop your semi-long serve, it's very easy to miss-hit your counter rip. In this situation, if you don't want to block, you can close your racket face and hit through it. But if their return has no spin, that's your chance to create your own spin. Let's see. If the incoming ball has no spin, I can add my own. If the ball comes with spin, actively adding too much spin might cause it to go long. There are only two ways to handle this. First is to block. Just push forward. Second, if you're already set for a flick, don't add too much of your own spin. Watch my motion. My wrist is completely firm and still. I'm just pressing on the ball to execute the shot. The moment the wrist moves, you're likely to make an error. Let me show you what happens if I move my wrist a little. It goes out immediately. This is very common. For a consistent return, the more spin they use, the less you should use your wrist and fingers. Use your forearm to control the arc and keep the racket face stable. If they don't add spin, then you decide how much to create. You must learn to differentiate when to use more spin and when to use less. Third point, your body. Many people think if the ball comes to their backhand, they can just stand there. But actually, wide-angle balls are easier. It's the half-long balls, where you're not sure whether to move, that cause the most errors. So, your body can't be stiff after the serve. Watch my feet. Even for a ball right at me, I use my feet to adjust my center of gravity. I use my body's movement to coordinate with my hands. Look at the Haramoto siblings' backhands. During backhand rallies, they even lift their heels to this exaggerated degree. The goal is to keep their center of gravity low, as they want to generate power while maintaining consistency. We're not just teaching how to get the ball on the table, but the key to using a powerful stroke while maintaining consistency. Also, after your side spin serves, the opponent often returns to a wide angle not on purpose, but because the side spin took it there. See? I missed that shot because my feet were too slow. If my feet move into position after the serve, I can control the arc of the ball immediately. Fast hands and a slow body won't work. The body must lead the hands to control the ball. Your error isn't your technique, it's your positioning. It's the same with serve-receive. We don't miss because of the spin. We miss because of our position. It's always because your feet and center of gravity didn't move. If I stand here now, and Shuai serves that ball again, I won't miss. Because the position is just right. For most amateur players, the weakness isn't the difficulty of the shot, but the judgment of position and the footwork to get there. It's a problem with your feet, balance, and anticipation. You're missing because of your position, not the spin. Poor positioning, misjudging the ball, a lagging center of gravity, and slow footwork. This leads to flawed technique, bad timing, and spacing issues. It's a chain reaction. So, we need to practice this. If I want to hit a high-quality shot after my side topspin serve, my feet must find the right spot. After you see the ball, your feet must be constantly adjusting. A common mistake is keeping the body still and reaching with the arm. Even if the ball lands, there's no quality. You can't hit it hard, you can only guide it over gently. So in table tennis, your feet need to be very active. They should be moving even when it seems unnecessary. They have to find the spot for you. Whatever the spot is, you have to actively move to it. Being even slightly out of position can cause an error. Finally, let's talk about the forehand. For this ball, do you hit it or loop it? Most people hit it. Why not loop? Is it because there's no time? You want to loop, but you have to back up to do it. I've seen many amateurs do this. After serving, the ball comes to their forehand, they back up and loop. That's fine, there's no problem with that. Don't try to change it if it works for you. Play according to your own habits and rhythm. I stay closer to the table. I'm used to quick looping it on the rise. But male players generally back up a bit to loop this ball. There's no absolute right or wrong here. But if you serve topspin and they return to your forehand, you must try to win the point with that one shot. You have to hit it with quality. Another concept, just because you have a good side topspin serve doesn't mean the opponent should miss. If you can't beat them in a rally, you have to change tactics. Try a no-spin or backspin serve, get into a pushing rally, or let them loop first. Right now, you're playing within your own circle. If you played in a national amateur league, you'd see how good those top players are. Even I have things to learn from them. So, if the ball comes to your forehand, let's first talk about hitting it flat. On a topspin ball, it's hard to add more spin. So, what wins the point is power, speed, and placement. Standing close to the table, what's the most logical and effective way to win the point? Is it power? If you use full power close to the table, it's easy to hit it long. From mid-distance, you can hit as hard as you want and it's less likely to go out. So, when you return this ball from within a meter of the table, speed plus placement becomes your biggest weapon. Now, we just talked about the backhand drive, and the three key words are short, fast, stop. If we apply the same principle to the forehand, every drive in a match relies on these three words. So after your serve, what does short mean? A big backswing is not short. If your upper arm is heavily involved in a close to the table shot, the ball will go out. Because the arc becomes too long. So, if you want to drive this side topspin ball, it must be short and stop. No big backswing, a compact motion, and an early stop. Your follow-through finishes here, not up between your eyebrows like a textbook stroke. If the opponent hits with full power and you still try to execute a full, standard stroke, you will miss the shot. You have to adjust based on the ball. Sometimes even if I stop my swing here, I feel it's going out. You must adjust your swing size based on the incoming ball and your position. Why are forehand shots more prone to error? Because you have to move from the backhand to the forehand side, which requires footwork and positioning, making it more difficult. In this situation, I need short and stop. Look, I'm only doing half the motion. A coach normally tells you to finish all the way up here. Stop it immediately. This makes the motion very compact and focused. Why do amateurs struggle with creating friction? Because they've practiced the forehand drive for so long, their feel is for hitting, not brushing. If you want to learn to loop, start early to develop that brushing feel. Another crucial point, for all drives against topspin, you must close your racket face. Because you're using power. Some of you might say, but for a basic forehand drive, we're told not to close it. The basic drive is just a fundamental framework. In a match, you must adjust. For example, against a pips-out player, I have to open my racket and drive upwards a bit. Because you're on the move, you must hit this ball from your opponent with a closed racket angle to get it on the table. Like I said before, drive with a closed angle. It's the same for the backhand punch. Normally I hit it like this, but when I go down the line, I close the angle. How much you close the angle depends on the incoming ball. If the ball is high, you can close the angle and it'll land. If the ball is low and you do that, it'll go into the net. For a low ball, you have to open the angle a bit. You must adapt to the situation. If you just rigidly follow the textbook, you won't play well. A table tennis ball is round, anything can happen. You have to be flexible. You can't be rigid. Every motion in table tennis is an arc. Straight line movements like smashing down or pushing flat won't work. I'm teaching you the method, but the application is up to you. If you don't learn to think, you'll never be able to handle the countless possibilities that arise in a match. Okay, let's talk about looping. This is simpler. So, for looping against topspin, let me demonstrate. This is my specialty. This quick loop is a huge threat. I use this tactic often in matches. Actually, this is the most consistent shot. I usually serve a very obvious, high-arcing side topspin to prevent them from generating power. Then, as soon as they block it back with pace, I'll forehand loop or backhand rip them, varying the placement to take control of the first few shots. That loop I just did, was I using their power or generating my own? It was using their power. To generate your own power, you have to be further back. Anytime you take the ball on the rise, you can't be generating all the power yourself. There isn't enough time. So, it's a counter loop using their pace. Second, I really like the quick counter loop because it's so effective. They loop to my forehand, I counter quickly, and they have no time to set up their next attack. Their return will have no quality. The key is the arc of your forearm swing. The faster you execute the swing, the higher the quality of your shot. It follows this arc, doesn't it? Watch what I do after the serve. You can play all topspin balls like this. Even if they return it, I can just go down the line. You always have a next shot. The key point is this arc, right? This is why I tell you not to just push the ball. Pushing in a match is very error-prone. In the forehand system, this arc created by the forearm, if you make it smaller and use the wrist, it becomes a flick. Use the forearm for this arc, and it's a drive. More forearm and less upper arm in this arc, and it's a quick loop. Equal parts forearm and upper arm, it's a loop against topspin. More upper arm, dropping down more and coming up more, that's a loop against backspin. See? Everything depends on this arc. The arc always dictates the shot. Looping backspin, looping topspin, a short push, a flick, they all have an arc. This is why, when you practice your loops, you must pay attention to the trajectory and the arc of your swing. For example, if the ball is very spinny, I lift my elbow to create this downward pressing arc. If it's not spinny, then I drop my arm to create this upward arc. See? You can never get away from the arc.